Puebla is the beautiful, colorful capital city of the state of the same name and sits in a valley surrounded by towering volcanoes, including the most active one in the country and Pico de Orizaba, the tallest mountain in the whole of Mexico. It is the fourth largest city in the entire country and is only a 2-hour drive from Mexico City, making it a great day trip as well from CDMX if you're a little shorter on time. We'd heard great things about Puebla and unfortunately missed it on our first visit to Mexico, so decided to spend 3 days there this time around. In this video, we'll share all of our favorite places from the historic center of Puebla, as well as some of the best day trips you can do from the city, and of course, where to stay whilst you're doing all of that.
If you're new here, we're Kitty and John, and we'd love to travel and experience new places and cultures. We get excited about any new destination we visit, but have really fallen in love with Central and South America and spend much of our time there. So make sure to hit that subscribe button if you'd like to see more content from this beautiful part of the world. But without further ado, let's get into the video.
If it's your first time in Puebla, we definitely recommend staying within the historic center of the city. This area covers about 4 to 5 blocks in all directions around the main Zocalo. If you do stay within this area, you'll be within really easy access to most of the city's main attractions. We stayed on Avenida Cuatro between Cinco de Mayo and Calle Dos and found it really convenient for everything we needed. That being said, the historic center is quite far from the main bus station, so you probably will need to take a taxi in order to get there when you first arrive. But it is super close to where the colectivos and local buses leave from, so if you're doing some day trips from the city, it's really convenient for that. Puebla is actually going to be our last new stop this time around in Mexico. For the rest of the time in Mexico, we're going to be heading back to Mexico City, Guadalajara, to places that we've already been, just so we can get a little bit of work done and see some friends. But I definitely think we saved the best accommodation till last. We got this beautiful apartment, nice spacious, big kitchen. The best part of it is definitely what is outside. Come check this out. Look at these views.
Morning. Aren't you happy to be back with volcanoes?
Yes.
I think this is our place.
It is very, very nice to not have the crazy humidity in the Yucatan. As much as that place is beautiful, it is absolutely sweltering and not very pleasant to walk around in the middle of the day. Whereas here we've got these beautiful views and temperature is pretty nice to be out.
Not this morning, but when we arrived yesterday at like 6 in the morning, we could see Popo. Unfortunately, they built a big structure in front of it, so we can't really see it smoking. But we've been to the national park a couple of years ago and we did the hike. It was amazing, but it's so nice to see these volcanoes again.
Just like in Mérida in the Yucatan state of Mexico, the highlight of a visit to Puebla is to explore its historic center, which has been a UNESCO World Heritage Site since 1987. From incredibly colorful streets and artisan markets to interesting museums and peaceful plazas, it's a lot to do and see in Puebla, which is the reason why we recommend spending at least 2 full days in Puebla, be able to cover everything within the historic center and not to feel too rushed. We started in the Zocalo de Puebla, the city's main square, which, as with all Latin American cities, is also its beating heart. On one side, you've got the towering Cathedral de Puebla, the city's main cathedral, and on the other, the municipal palace of the city. The rest of the square is lined with restaurants, bars, and cafes, which really comes alive in the evenings when the cathedral and fountain are lit up. Locals come out as well as tourists because the temperatures are a little bit cooler. We headed north along Cinco de Mayo from the Zocalo and soon came to the red facade of the Templo de Santo Domingo. This church might not look much from the outside, but don't let its exterior fool you. Inside is one of the most beautiful churches in Mexico. Highlight is the Rosario Chapel, which is covered from floor to ceiling in beautiful gold plating. From the chapel, we walk down to La Calle de los Dulces. You may have guessed from the name that this street is lined from top to bottom with different sweet shops. The smells as we walk up and down this street were incredible. If you really want some traditional Mexican sweets, then definitely walk down La Calle de los Dulces. At the end of Calle de los Dulces, we came to Barrio de Artista. This was probably our favorite area of the city. Here you'll find the bright yellow Teatro Principal, which reminded us of our recent visit to the yellow city of Izamal, and close by the mural exterior of the ex-convento de San Francisco. The highlight of Barrio del Artista, though, is the line of studios built from brick and Talavera tiles, where you can see different artists working on or displaying their finished pieces. A little further along, you will find the same kinds of structures at the El Parejo Artisan Market. It's being used to display all sorts of traditional and handmade products for sale. It's a small but definitely a must-visit location in Puebla, especially if you're in the market for souvenirs. Kept heading south from the Barrio de la Testa until we came to probably Puebla's most famous street, El León de los Sapos, or the Alley of Frogs. This street is quite possibly the most colorful in Puebla and certainly the prettiest, so we highly recommend arriving early in the morning so that you can enjoy without hundreds of other tourists getting in your way. From Los Sapos, we headed to Museo Amparo, which is a really great multi-level museum that's home to many pre-Columbian artifacts, as well as exhibits of contemporary art. Probably the best part of the museum, though, is the rooftop cafe and terrace. We got some stunning views of the city skyline.
I mean, this museum is worth the price of entry purely for the rooftop terrace. I don't know if you can actually come up here without entering the museum itself. Maybe just come up here to have a drink or to eat without paying for the museum entry, but the views are just stunning all around. We grabbed some churros from Puebla La Churreria, which we highly recommend because they were delicious, and then made our way to the back of the cathedral, where you can visit the Biblioteca Palafoxiana, beautiful public library that was founded in the 17th century and houses hundreds of rare books. We think this itinerary would be perfect for your first day in Puebla, and if you are short on time and only have one day to explore, this pretty much covers all of the main attractions and most beautiful parts of the city. However, if you do have an extra day, there is a little bit more that we think is worthwhile to see. We started by heading north out of the city center until we reached the entrance to the Pasaje Cinco de Mayo, which is part of a large underground tunnel system that runs beneath the streets of Puebla and was long considered a myth. The reason that these tunnels were first built is still up for debate. One theory is that they were used in the combat strategy during the Battle of Puebla in 1862 because of their proximity to the forts nearby. So the Pasaje Cinco de Mayo, the cool little tunnel, brings you out below the Zona Histórica de las Fuertes, which is like a big park area. They have a bunch of different... Oh, nice.
Oh my god. Jesus Christ.
Rat.
That's a huge one. I genuinely thought it was a scroll for a second. I was like, oh look at this.
Giant rat. Anyway, so there are a bunch of different museums here. Obviously, we're a little bit higher up now, so we're going to get hopefully a nice view over the city. Just have a little wander around. Beautiful view of Popo straight through there. We got amazing views out over the city, the rest of the park, and over to Popo Volcano as we made our way up to the fort. Closest one to the tunnel exit is Fuerte de Loreto, which has been turned into a museum now and houses lots of military artifacts as well as information about the history and the importance of the fort.
Just like many Mexican cities, the municipality of Puebla is made up of loads of small towns that merge into the city as it grows. Cholula is one of these towns, and they should 100% be on your Puebla itinerary. It's super easy to get there from the center of Puebla using public transport. There are many colectivos that do this trip between Puebla Center and Cholula, but we actually ended up on a public bus, leaving from this bus station on Avenida 6 between Calle 13 and 11. It takes about 30 to 40 minutes and costs just a couple of pesos and drop us off right in the center of town. Cholula is actually one of Mexico's many Pueblo Mágicos or magical towns, and it wasn't hard to see why. It sits in the shadow of its Popo volcanoes, so we got some incredible views of two of Mexico's highest peaks from the town. Streets are once again very bright, colorful, and full of life, with some beautiful architecture surrounding the main square. Make sure to stop for lunch at one of the many cafes for some fresh and delicious Mexican food. By far, the highlight of this small town, though, is the Santuario de la Virgen de los Remedios, which sits atop a hill that used to be the largest pyramid ever built in the world by volume. The church itself is gorgeous, but the best part about hiking up to it for us was the insane views we got out towards Puebla in one direction and Popo in the other.
So crazy to see these volcanoes from so close again. Last time we were in Mexico City, we actually climbed a little bit of the way up Itza, which seems like a long time ago now. It was about 2 years ago, but it's an amazing experience. So if you want to check that video out, which is also something you can do pretty easily from Puebla.
Easier to get to from Puebla than from Mexico City.
If you want to learn a little bit more about the pyramid that the church now sits on top of, then you can head down the backside of the hill and enter the archaeological zone there to have a wander around the base of the structure. I think you used to be able to go down to the tunnels and get a bit closer to the structure. However, at the time of our visit, it was closed and we could just walk around the outskirts of it, which was still quite interesting, but it definitely would have been a cool experience to be able to go down to the structure. The ticket to the pyramid also includes entry to the nearby Cholula site museum, where you can see a 3D model of what the pyramid would look like, as well as some murals and artifacts.
As we mentioned earlier, during our last visit to Mexico, when we were in Mexico City, we actually did a day trip to Popo National Park and climbed a short way up Itza volcano so that we could get amazing views back towards the erupting Popo. This was one of our favorite activities during our entire stay in Mexico last time, so we think it'd be really a worthwhile addition to add on to your Puebla itinerary because it's a lot closer to the national park than Mexico City is. So if you want to find out what that hike is like, then make sure to click on over and go and check out that dedicated video. As you can see, there's just so much to do in Puebla and around the city that we recommend spending at least 3 full days there. And of course, if you want to do Popo National Park as well, then you're probably going to need to spend 4 days in order to make sure you cover everything. We think you probably could squeeze the city and Cholula into 2 days if you really had to, but you would be rushing around and doing quite a lot in both of those days. We hope you enjoyed the video and found it useful. If you did, we have a lot more content from both Mexico and loads more countries within Central and South America. So make sure to hit that subscribe button and notification bell so that you can follow along on all of our other adventures. We also have a travel blog where we go into a lot more detail about all of the places that we visited and include information that you probably won't find in some of the videos. So if you would like any further info about any of these places that you've seen in our videos, then make sure to go on over and check out the blog. Otherwise, we will see you back here on the next adventure.